Okay, welcome to another episode of the Investor's Guide to Hard Money Lending, brought to you by CoreLend Financial. Today we have Dustin Ring, who is a big wholesaler out of Jackson, Tennessee, with us. So welcome, Justin.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you having me on here. Thanks for the invite, as always. Love being on podcasts, so here we are. And Memphis is my hometown, so it's nice coming back.
So tell me, how'd you end up in Jackson and wholesaling? And you went into Jackson. You're doing very well at it.
Yes. Well, I believe it or not, I used to be a professional wrestler, and I went to a wrestling show in Jackson, Tennessee, where my now ex-wife, it's a long story, I'm going to shorten it up, was sitting in the crowd watching her boyfriend wrestle me. We're both pro wrestlers. I know there's some real trailer park stuff right here. I met my wife at a wrestling show. We started talking on MySpace, and we started dating after that and got married, had a child. He's 11 years old now, but they now live in Little Rock. But we both lived in Little Rock at one point, and she was from a little town outside of Jackson called Parsons, Tennessee, little one red light, middle of nowhere. And we decided I don't want to live in Memphis anymore. And then Jackson's kind of a city. It's got everything you need.
Yes.
And it's not bad to live there. So we decided to move to Jackson. Well, she ended up moving back to Little Rock once we divorced, and I'm still in Jackson. I was in IT for a very long time, fixing computers. I worked for the school system. I worked for Geek Squad. I worked for Conoco Nolta, which is a big printing company and camera company, or at least they used to be. And I was tired of making $30,000 a year. And, I was, as the saying goes, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. So dove into real estate, actually reached out to my landlord. I was living in a little duplex off of Hollywood in Jackson.
They have a lot of duplexes in Jackson.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of duplexes. We have a lot of apartments, but Jackson's very consolidated. But yeah, there's a ton of duplexes. I wish I owned lots of them. So anyways, I asked my landlord, I said, hey man, can you help me out a little bit? Like, I know you have this rental, like what's the deal? He gave me Rich Dad, Poor Dad to read, and I read it. It actually sat on my shelf for about 2 years. Then I read it. And then I was like, hey, landlord, Mr. Landlord, what do I do next? I don't even have any money to invest. I have to work this 9 to 5. And he was like, hey, you need to show up to this local real estate investor meeting in Jackson. This is back in 2019. So April 2019, March 2019. So I'm coming up on 7 years here in a few months. But that's how it all started. A guy was speaking there talking about finder's fees, and I did more research and realized it was called wholesaling real estate. And I wasn't, I was going to get more than $250 for a finder's fee from this guy, and just made it a business. And since then we're pushing up around 700 deals, assignments closed. And that's just in that central West Tennessee area. I've done probably about 10 to 15 deals in Memphis, but I don't market here. Jackson's my main spot. I just figured if I can take control over that. And the cool thing is Jackson's right between Memphis and Nashville. So you have to go through there. And a lot of people that are wanting to leave Memphis or Nashville, it's a nice, smaller town community.
Right. With everything you need there.
Absolutely. It has everything. You can go to Walmart. You can go to Red Robin. Well, I think they just closed our Red Robin down. But, any restaurant, any chain food, whatever you want. And then there's a little bit of culture too. So it's a growing city. With the announce of the whole Blue Oval thing, which is a Ford plant they were making near Jackson, it's really started to ramp up. But I think here in 2025, most of us have seen the market slow down quite a bit. So yes, it's still really great, but the market definitely has taken it's sagged.
It's a challenge.
Yes, you actually have to work for it now. Absolutely.
Which, and we have a lot of people that obviously wholesaling, I think, is a lot bigger in Memphis. There's a lot more competition. What would you give advice for these people just getting into it? What do they need to do to have success in it?
I'm big on branding. If you can brand yourself or find a brand, everyone says we buy houses. And then there's also a lot of companies that'll hide behind an LLC, like
We Buy Ugly Houses.
Yeah, or anything like that. Or, Investment Lion Properties LLC. No one knows what that is. Just keep it simple, stupid, or stupid simple. I use the office term where Michael always says to Dwight, KISS, keep it simple, stupid, calling him stupid. But it's actually keep it stupid, simple. So Dustin buys houses. All right. My name's Dustin. I just created a report right there. There's the picture of me, and I buy houses. It's that simple. And, people have, I just ripped off and repeated from somebody else in another state that was Danny buys houses. And I was like, okay, that's genius. I'll do it down here. But if you can create a brand, and the whole thing is to, create rapport, get people to like, know, and trust you in a very small amount of time. The most important thing is in your branding, in your advertising, whatever you're doing, whether you're door knocking and putting flyers on doors, doing boots on the ground, which is where you need to start. They need to be able to they need to be able to feel like they can like, know, and trust you just by looking at your flyer. They don't want to see Dustin buys houses and then Stephanie shows up with Dustin buys houses. They want to see Dustin that was on the flyer. So I say personal branding is really big. Boots on the ground marketing. Use all your social media tools to your advantage. There's so many ways to market for free these days that people don't utilize. So, people will come to me and like, I've been wholesaling for 6 months and haven't got a deal yet. And I go, do you have a Facebook business page? Well, no. And I'm going, come on, it's free. Yet people need to Google, if they're going to Google your name, at least a Facebook business page needs to pop up. Something with credibility needs to pop up. But branding is everything. Don't just be the yellow and black "we buy houses" sign. Create a real brand, a real slogan. It doesn't have to be cheesy or anything, but it needs to be like in rural Tennessee, Jackson, Tennessee, we have those cash your check fast signs everywhere, or we have rural internet signs everywhere where Starlink's out now, but you have like HughesNet and all these things, but you can literally just look at the sign without reading it and immediately know where it is. Just like when you see that McDonald's M, there can just be a billboard of a yellow M with a red background. That's McDonald's. It's brand recognition. So that's what I would go for first, is creating a brand. Getting your reps in is the next one, because that's what you got to do when you go to the gym and you want to get big or you want to lose weight. You have to get the reps in. So even if I didn't do my first deal until month 3, but I probably looked at 50 different houses, just talking to people, doing what I call walking and talking, looking at the house. And sometimes 99% of the time, I didn't ask them how much they wanted for the house. If they called me, I set up an appointment. I didn't know what I was doing. I was learning as I was going. But what happened was I was able to match energy. I was able to actually.
They liked you for you, and they wanted to sell it because of you, not because of the unknown corporation name.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, don't show up too spiffy. There's, we have real estate agents out there. That's their role. Show up in something where they can, unless they're just dressed in a tux, then match their energy.
Right.
But I show up just like this. I mean, I might not wear this jacket, but a black t-shirt, pair of blue jeans, and some tennis shoes go a long way when you're talking to somebody.
Meet them on their level.
100%, because most of these people are absolutely 110% motivated. They're either sad, mad, they're stressed. They don't care. They just want you to take this problem away. And coming in with a big fancy car and a nice suit may intimidate them, and they may go with another person. So just be on their level. Exactly, 100%. But still be professional. Carry yourself as a professional. Talk as a professional. Don't show up like a slob. But
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but no, it's not necessarily about attire. You want to look presentable, but it doesn't have to be. You're not walking into corporate America. You're walking into somebody that there is a reason they're selling and not going on the open market or on the MLS, because there's something that's motivating them other than getting the top dollar for their house. Usually,
100%. Either it's a time limit or there's just too many repairs. They've already, a lot of people have already the leads I get, they've already talked to a realtor. And the agent says, well, you got to fix this, 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 and this, and this. And they don't have the money or the time, or they just don't want to. They know what they owe, and they know what they need to get. And,
if the numbers work, they work.
If the numbers work, they work. And it's got to be a win-win-win. So it's got to be a win for you. The first deal I did, I said, I don't care if I make $0. I just want to get through the process. Mm-hmm. I don't care if I have to pay $500. I just want to get through the process, because I'm a very hands-on person. So getting from that, getting the lead, signing the contract, getting through escrow, what's escrow, putting down earnest money, what's earnest money, and then closing. I have still never seen a closing. Getting through that whole process, I would have done it for free. which
or you pay thousands of dollars in coaching and you still haven't actually experienced it.
Right. You don't need to pay thousands of dollars in coaching, which, by the way, I do have a coaching course. No, I'm kidding. No, I really do. But on wholesaling, if you're interested. You don't need all that. I would just say, biggest advice, get out there in your car. Go driving for dollars. Go look left and right at every single house. If the grass is grown up, if there's a tarp on the roof, if there's old dusty raggedy cars in the driveway, if the mailbox is all beat up,
that's opportunity.
That's opportunity, absolutely. And who cares? You can't. Here's the biggest thing, especially in Memphis. I'm glad I started wholesaling when I did, but if I was coming in Memphis, I would have to completely get rid of the mentality that there's competition or that there's too much competition, because I have a lot of wholesalers, newbie wholesalers, people wanting to start calling me, and they're in the Memphis, Nashville, Chattanooga. I got to go. You got to put earmuffs and blinders on. If they're doing 20 deals, you're going to be lucky if you can do one deal, but concentrate on yourself, because if you're concentrating on all these other people that have been doing it 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, you're not even going to be able to do a single deal, because you're going to unmotivate yourself, and you have to stay motivated, and you're going to get kicked down. I mean, I'm getting my butt kicked right now in 2025, but you have to stay up. And starting out, and here, that's the great thing about wholesaling. You really don't need any money to start out. So what's to lose? Nothing but your time. So, you can make $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. My biggest fee was $200,000 back in 2022. But you can literally make money out of nothing. And what I was going back is, it's got to be a win-win-win. You've got to make some money. Your seller has to be able to feel like they didn't get kicked in the gut. And then the person, your buyer, whoever you're assigning and I'm assuming everyone listening knows the steps of wholesaling, but the buyer that's buying the contract has to feel like they get a win too, because you want repeat buyers. And that's one thing people are having a problem with, is they can't find buyers for these deals. And a lot of wholesalers will send out these deals in a bidding type war where I have 5 buyers in my pocket, and I'm going to go, well, I'm going to send this straight to Bob because Bob's bought 200 houses from me and he always pays me 10 to 15 grand on every single one of them. I'm going to stay loyal to that guy. And there's also a big spread on the deal. But if you're out there getting a bid war and everything else, squeezing blood out of a turnip, and every deal you sell to somebody is just barely a deal, it's going to be hard to keep those buyers in your pocket.
You bring that up, and I've seen that because there are some that do that here where they send it out to so many people, and it sounds like a great deal, but it's going to be 30 grand more than what that deal is, because they've done multiple.
They've had offers.
They've had offers. And so at that point, I look at some of those now and I'm like, oh, forget that. I don't
Why
even
not
look
put it on the MLS?
Right. Right. I don't even look at those because I'm like, it's not going to be that price. They're going to get more. And I just don't have the time or energy to chase that.
Correct. And some people will even put those houses out there at a lower price than what it's even under contract for. I've seen them do it in my market where they'll put it out, they'll throw it out, and then you'll go and go, hey, man, what's the deal on this house? Oh, well, it's actually not that price. It's this price. I was just trying to get attention on it. And I'm going, that is the sketchiest stuff ever. So that's why I hardly send emails. I'll send emails on things that maybe I'm having a hard time turning around or getting interest on. But typically I've got people texting me every single day, hey, Dustin, what you got? Hey, Dustin, what you got? Or I have people that I've worked with since 2019 that we've, created this partnership with. And I've got 5 people that I can send a deal to right now. And more than likely, as long as it's a deal, one of them is going to take it.
And once again, there you go back to time. That is your time that you're spending less and less time having to shop that deal around.
I'd much rather take 10 grand over 15 grand if I can have 10 grand a day and close in 30 days, or be stressed all month wondering if I'm going to close on this deal. And then finally someone locks it up and I got to extend the contract and the closing date. It's just, I'm on to the next deal.
Right.
And if you're a new wholesaler, don't do that, because it's a really good way to get buyers to dislike you, or just go, this is just another fly-by-night wholesaler that's wanting.
Because the reputation is not the best out there for some of them. As in general.
None of us.
Right. But there are good ones out there, and you keep 100%. It's like, do you stand by your word pretty much?
Yes. And also, if you're going to write a contract and put earnest money down, this is another thing I see with bad wholesalers is, and especially out-of-state wholesalers, they're hiding behind a company name. It's easy for them to ghost the seller
right
on closing day, and it happens all the time. And this is why wholesaling is becoming illegal in certain states without a license. Sorry, I keep cutting you off.
No, that's fine, because I want to talk about that too, because I know we'd had a phone conversation a few months ago about you okay, looking into using hard money lending for your double closes on these type of things, because there's got to be transparency because of all of these things where it's really, consumer protections.
Yes.
For these.
Yes. So if you're going to wholesale a house now in the state of Tennessee, you have to have a certain contract. And, if the wrong person the wrong seller gets their hands on a contract that's not up to the state law standards, you get in a lot of trouble. They can go back not only on this deal, but they can go back on every other deal that you've done. And so make sure you have the right contracts. I would talk to an attorney. Whatever closing, that's what I did. I had my closing attorney type me out a new wholesale contract that really covered my butt, so that when I'm doing a wholesale deal, they know exactly what they're getting into. It's transparency, and it helps the deal from falling apart. Because, when you're not being transparent, you got to tell all these lies and say, well, my buyer and contractors and this and that, and you're just trying to extend the deal to get it to close. But when they know it's a wholesale deal, you can just say, hey, look, I've been shopping this thing. I've got a buyer on the line. We don't know what it's just easier that way. And so that's what that new law does, is it basically protects. But if you don't feel like going through all that, you can absolutely double close, which I think is what's great with hard money, especially with you guys. Now, you guys charge, is it 1%?
1 point per month. So
so say I buy $100,000 house and I want to double close on it.
It's $1,000.
So $1,000 plus anything else?
Whatever your title company fees are.
Yeah. And that's out of us.
Right.
Right.
So it's a point.
That's amazing. So,
and the thing is, you've got, or some people it's, and this is, I think, what's different about CoreLend when it comes to transactional, when it comes to wholesalers, it's like, it doesn't necessarily have to be just a true double close where the money's only there for a little bit longer. You've got a full month for that 1 point. So we've got some people that if they're a hedge fund's buying it, they've got to, the wholesaler's got to own it for whatever, a couple weeks, deeds got to be recorded, and then they can buy it from it. The deal's still there. But so they've paid $1,000. So in that $100,000 situation, they've paid $1,000 right there.
And it's not just for the evening or just for the day, or the week. That's actually amazing. I'll tell you, I just did a double closing. These sellers were real sticklers. Her name should have been Karen. She's like, when I was on the phone with her, she's like, if you do a good job, Dustin, I'm going to leave you a good review, because I leave hundreds of Google reviews. And I'm like, yeah. Like, I don't even know if I want this deal. Is it even going to be worth it? And her husband is a retired police officer, and they were working with another agent buying another property. So double pressure. I have to close on this house so they can close on their other house, using my contract as a contingency to buy another property. So I was like, well, I'm just going to double close this thing. And it was $90,000. And that's a lot more cash than I like to. And then of course the buyer that was supposed to be buying it had issues refinancing a property. And I'm going, oh, great. Now I'm out $90,000 and I don't know if this guy's going to close or not. Luckily he closed, but that was the most stressful month ever, because I'm putting out $90,000, and no matter what people tell you, most people don't have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands. Us cash buyers don't have all that money in the bank. It's already reinvested in something else. Right. So spending $90,000 on something that I'm only going to get a $5,000 assignment fee on, if it closes, can make you pretty nervous and pretty stressful, especially when the sellers are breathing down your neck. So having that cushion, a whole month
or 2 months, you pay another point, and then you pay
and
interest
what's the
payment.
point? So you make $10,000 assignment fee and you have to pay $2,000 and you never use your own money.
Right.
So that's a win for me. I don't know. That's so, double closing is one of those things where you literally close yourself and then turn around and immediately sell it usually at the same closing table. Right. It doesn't have to be, which is what we're saying. You have time to go sell it within that month, but usually you close back to back. So that's if, say you're getting a deal from a lady or a man or whoever, a seller, and it's 80,000, but you're making a big 25K piece and you just don't want your seller to know how much you're going to profit. You're able to do a double close, and, you're just getting, instead of a check and an assignment fee, you'll have to pay a little bit more in closing costs, but you're just doing two separate transactions.
Or we've had some wholesalers that have used it where, say, a group can only pay a maximum of assignment fee of this amount. Well, the wholesaler is going to make $80,000 on this assignment fee. So it was using us of where they actually closed on it, and then 2 weeks later they closed on it with that, and they made their $80,000 assignment fee. Pretty much.
That's incredible. That's $80,000. That's smoking. That's a home
and run. It was still a good deal for the end party. Like we
Right.
were talking about a house in South Haven that they were getting for 120 and selling for 200. So like a 3-2 down there.
Yeah, that's amazing. Those deals are amazing.
Those are the home runs that everybody. But that's the thing is, that's kind of a home run.
No, it's a home run.
But what a lot of people don't realize, most of these are just solid base hits where they add up to runs in the end, where it's going to take multiple ones. They're not going to get rich off this one deal. Or if they do,
Correct.
they make this much off of this one deal, then how many other deals are going to be like that? Because then everybody feels taken advantage of because it's not a win-win-win.
Right. That one definitely probably wasn't. That was probably, and there are those home run deals out there where the people will be hugging you, thanking you at closing. You're like, no, thank you.
Right.
But with that being said, yeah, you're going to have deals that are like, I don't know how many 2,500s and 1,500s and 5,000s and 3,000s that I've closed in the past few months. If I don't care if I signed a contract and said I was going to close, and I had to sign it for 0. That's what I have to do to get it to close. I'd much rather do that than pay $500 of my own earnest money to a seller and lose money. And that's another thing I was going to say earlier that I kind of brushed past because I have ADHD. But if you're going to sign these contracts and you're going to put earnest money on there, be prepared to pay that earnest money if you can't do the deal. I know that sounds like, well, I don't have any money to pay. Well, don't sign a contract with earnest money. Put $10 or $50 on there or
some type of consideration. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah. I used to put 0 and no one ever balked at it. But, now I always either put $250 or $500. And to save face, if I sign a contract with someone and I can't close, the least I can do is give them their earnest money because most of these people are altering their lifestyles in order to close a property. Mm-hmm. So at least I can help with the blow of paying that month's mortgage payment or something like that.
Right.
Because the last thing I want is Dustin Ring signed a contract, say he was going to buy a house, didn't pay me the earnest money. All right, Google review.
Yes.
I don't want that on Google.
1 star.
Yeah, right. I've only had one star review on Google, and it says Dustin didn't call me back, and I don't even remember who the person was. So I was like, I get a lot of calls that I don't call back. It's unfortunate. It says on my voicemail, leave a message or text me. I can't call everybody back, but anyways, if that's the worst I've done.
And you talk about earnest money, and because we'll see this a lot, where it does speak back to your character. Get that earnest money deposit in quickly. Don't shop around and wait for that end buyer to pay the earnest money, because then it starts looking like, well, he's not really being serious about closing on this. He hasn't even deposited his $250 or $500 earnest money.
Right. I've got a deal I'm buying from a wholesaler right now out of Florida. Really good one. I was just talking to you about it, that mobile home.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And great deal. It's got a little pond on it, double wide. And it's $2,000 earnest money for a $47,000 deal. But that, it's actually pretty smart because only somebody that is serious about purchasing something is going to put $2,000 down on something. Mm-hmm. Now, I'll get my earnest money back if certain contingencies aren't met, like, hey, we can't find the title or whatever.
Right.
But,
which that is a real thing, a real issue with mobile homes, plates and titles.
Yes. And trying to get it detitled with no title or plate is an act of Congress. And
yes, most
attorneys don't want to do it.
No.
It's a big hassle. And it takes like 4 months.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's just not quick. So that's the thing. If you buy a mobile home out there, and it's not a fix, make sure there's a title or some type of plate on there that shows the serial number and all that good stuff.
Yeah, we had Richie under the crawl space, crawling all up under there looking for it,
sometimes
and not to be found.
Under the crawl space. Sometimes it's in a cabinet. Sometimes it's just right outside. But
it's a scavenger hunt.
Yes, but I've done very, very well on mobile homes, especially in Jackson. It's more rural. There's a lot more county area out, and so there's a lot more space for mobile homes. And right now, mobile homes are kind of the thing. Houses are too expensive. A lot of people are doing these mobile home land packages where they find a lot and put a mobile home on there and just sell a brand new mobile home.
Which you're talking rural, like in the Memphis area, it is not.
You can't do that here. But I mean, if you go out to Fayette County or something like that, or in the county where the restraints are different, like obviously in Jackson, you can't put a mobile home there unless it's been
Right.
like grandfathered in or something like that.
And that's why we like you talked to me earlier, like, do y'all do mobile homes like in the Memphis area? No, we don't, because we've had nightmares
Right.
of people getting to refinance to get them sold. But you go, we're also in Birmingham. And so the rural Alabama outside of that, the rural outside of Jackson, they're much more common. You can find, we talked about finding comps.
There's whole neighborhoods of mobile homes.
Right. But
not just mobile home parks, but neighborhoods.
Yes. And so it's like, you can't find the comps here in these bigger cities. You go to the rural, it's all about finding comps. Are they going to appraise? Can they do it? Because if it's non-conforming in this city, you can't find it. Well, in rural Jackson, outside of those, you can find those.
Yeah, you can find them easy. And sometimes you can't. Depends on how rural it is. But the first mobile home flip I ever did, and actually I got another one right after that one closed in the same neighborhood, but this was a whole neighborhood. There's like 3 houses at the very front, but the rest of them are all double wides. Got a big pond in the middle of it. You would think it was like a mobile home park, but it's not. They're all just individual. They're all on 1 acre lots, and they all own their own houses. So I think on that one, I paid $50,000 for a double wide and sold it for $150 cash. All I did was replace the carpets and paint it. And so that to me is a home run.
That is a home run. Well, you talk about, like you're saying on that, it's the same as and I know I was talking with another person earlier, or meetup, of these first time home buyers. The typical areas, they're having to move out of those. So you're seeing areas where, because of affordability, because they still can only afford that 120, 150, sub 200 market.
Yes.
And those keep getting harder and harder to find.
Yeah. And well, I got one I've got a single wide listed right now in Martin, Tennessee for about 125. Just got it for 35 grand, put 10 in it, listed it. I mean, it hadn't sold yet, but it will. But I mean, that's affordable housing now to some people,
Right.
because of the interest rates and everything. So back in my day, if you lived in a mobile home, people made fun of you. But, no offense to anybody that's ever lived in a mobile home or anything like that. But that was just, oh, you're poor or whatever. But no, now, I mean, that's affordable. You can get some good land. Like this one's got a storm shelter and over an acre, and there's horses all. I mean, it's beautiful. And it's affordable and it's nice.
It's kind of know your market.
Yeah. 100%.
Know your market of what you're buying. Like in wholesale, you're not going to buy something you're not going to make money on, or you don't see potential in.
Yeah. I've got another one in Martin that we're working on today, another double wide, and I'm looking at buying this one from this wholesaler. So, yeah, if you can get, and then even lots, I know we're going all over the place, but even lots of land, like if it's got septic and water on it, septic and a well, or septic and water, city sewer, whatever, and it's out in the county, and you can slap a mobile home on that sucker, that's worth a lot of money. So a lot of people, here's another thing for new wholesalers. Don't just come in the game looking for houses. Land is big right now. And a lot of people have shifted gears. A lot of these wholesalers, where these markets like Memphis, where it's inflated, there's too many wholesalers. There's too many text messages. There's too many ads going out. There's too many mailers. There's 1,000 wholesale companies here, but only 200 of them might be looking for land. So that's another thing to look for.
And you bring up a good point on land, because we have a lot of borrowers that come to us, and they're finding these lots that dilapidated houses, blight, and then that it's been torn down.
Sure.
And so they're buying these lots for anywhere from $6,000 to $8,000, and then they're coming to us for new construction loans, and they're building a turnkey rental on that. And they're getting and you've got people like from out of state, they're wanting to buy those then as turnkey rentals because it's brand new construction. They might live 1,000 miles away from here, but hey, I've got a brand new property. I'm getting $1,900 a month in rent. The roof's new. Everything's new in it.
Right.
Versus
Absolutely.
buying the flip that is, do we still know if that sewer line, is it original? Is what's behind the walls?
Yeah. I typically stay away from city lots, but there are a ton of builders in Jackson that are building. I've never built a house. I've only rehabbed them and done mobile homes and moved them. But that's exactly what's going on right now. There's like a gentrification of our downtown area. They are tearing them down. Once they sell, and then, they're selling these awesome houses. And some of them are duplexes. Some of them are mini apartment buildings. Some of them are just houses, but they're doing that quite a bit. And especially in the surrounding counties of Jackson, Humboldt, Milan, stuff like that, these smaller towns where they can, get stuff pennies on the dollar and build a duplex, and it makes sense, even brand new.
Yeah, you talk like that South Jackson area. Like long ago, I think back in 2002, I was the branch manager of the Enterprise Rent-A-Car there off of Airways.
No kidding.
And so it is so different now what that area looks like versus what it does
2002?
now.
Yeah, I've never even seen Jackson in 2002. So I think the first time I visited Jackson was in 2007. And I was like, wow, this is kind of like a little mini Memphis. And, it's only gotten bigger since. So,
because you've got the University of Memphis, the Lambeth camp, all of that's going right. There's a huge amount of development going down there.
Tons of it right now. Like I said, that's another space where they're tearing down houses and just selling the lots and then building, either duplexes, triplexes, or houses. There's a lot of stuff going on there right now. Don't come to my market. Stay in Memphis. I'm just kidding.
So tell me, Dustin, we're going to start wrapping up now.
Yeah.
Tell me, what's been like, we kind of do this with every guest. What has been your biggest horror story?
Biggest horror story. Richie may kill me for this one, but one of my first deals was with Richie, and we had gotten this crappy wholesale contract off the internet. It was free. It was one of my first leads. We signed the contract for this house, or I signed the contract, wholesaled it to Richie. And then Richie, she didn't want to sell the mobile home. And then Richie approached her and said, hey, do you want to sell your mobile home? And she ended up saying yes. So Richie ended up doing another deal with her on the side without me involved, which was fine because I just did my first deal and I was blessed. Not to mention the first day I went to go show him, my license was suspended and I got pulled over right in front of the house. And then I had to park my car and get somebody to come take me home. So the day Richie came to look at it, I didn't even meet Richie. I got pulled over and had to go home. And he's like, hey, I saw the house. Was that you pulled over? But anyways, they did a deal with the mobile home. So when it came to closing day, it turns out with the lending, since it was all going to be on one loan, they're like, hey, we don't fund on mobile homes. So the whole deal, the house and the mobile home, it's all going to fall apart. And she had already moved out everything.
Oh, gosh.
And so I had to go to somewhere in Humboldt or Milan to meet her whole family. And I'm telling you, I could have just deleted everything, fallen off the face of the planet, but I faced them. The whole family was sitting there in the living room because for some reason this contract asked for a social security number. Why? I don't know. You don't need your seller's social unless the title company asks for it for a payoff. But her whole family's sitting there. I'm sitting on the couch. I feel like I'm on Dr. Phil or something, or just like I'm in an intervention. And they're going, we knew you were a scammer, this and that. And that's why you put her social on there. And I'm just getting blasted from every family member. And then I had the audacity to say, look, I'm sorry. It was a fluke. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to scam you, but will you take less? I know you signed a contract at 30, but I think I got somebody, if you do 25, I can get it done for you. And they're like, no, we won't take less. So anyways, I ended up finding a buyer. I think I ended up losing about $1,500 on that deal, just paying earnest money, and just a few other, I wouldn't say $1,500, maybe about $1,000. But I was just glad to get the deal done. And turns out Miss Betty still calls me, so that was her name, every now and then, asking questions. So we still have a good relationship. Turns out it ended up just fine. But
because you faced the music too. You owned up to your mistake.
But I'd never done a deal yet. And I'm going, I'm already failing at this. Like this is not what I signed up to do. So that was one of the biggest, especially at the beginning, that definitely built some callous. And I was like, okay, if I can get through that and it closed, I can get through just about anything.
You failed forward.
Yes, I did. And my first 5 deals didn't close. So if you're feeling unmotivated right now and you're getting stuff under contract first, it's probably not a good house and it's probably too high. That's what I was doing. I was finding these houses out in rural areas and they were just priced way too high and I didn't know what I was doing. I thought bringing a digital camera instead of this $1,500 phone in my hand would look more professional. So I was taking pictures with a little digital camera just of spots on the ceiling. So I didn't know what a bad subfloor was. I didn't know what a bad roof was. I had no idea what I was doing. But I put my reps in and I learned over time. And, now I can look at a house and just walk through it once and tell you roundabout how much it's going to take to rehab it to get it to perfect condition.
You walk enough of them, you just start adding up numbers in your head.
You're not going to be able to rep out 225 overnight. You're going to have to start with the bar and when you're doing bench press. So it's just like that. You got to put your reps in. Don't be afraid to talk to people, make relationships, and just boots on the ground. If you really want it bad, you can do it. You can be just like any of these other companies out here just, doing $20,000 deals, $50,000 deals. The deals are still out there because companies are still in business. So there's no reason why you can't get the deal. Just outwork them.
Outwork them.
Thank you so much for having me on. done most of the talking. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
that is fine. That is fine. But yeah, we appreciate you having on, Dustin. Anything you want to say about your business?
Yeah, you can visit dustinbuys.com. I've got a book online. If you go to Amazon, it's called Break the Mold, and there's a big subtitle. It's really long, and I always butcher it. But it's called Break the Mold, How to Break Generational Curses Through the Power of Real Estate, something like that. But it is a book based on simply just my wholesaling model. Now, a few things have changed in that book because different things have been updated, but to the basics, if you're interested, buy that book. There's a digital version on it. It's a super easy read. And then if you're looking for coaching, specifically a course, and you want access to one-on-one with me, you can go to dustinringcoaching.com, check that out, and that'll have all the tools you need, plus access to me to get you started on your wholesaling path. But always remember, you can buy the course, you can buy the book, you can read 1,000 books, you can do all the YouTube, but if you're sitting on your hands or you're not ready to take action, there's nothing I can say or do to help you. You have to be ready to take the step forward.
Yep. Well, I appreciate you having you
Thank
on.
you so much.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all for tuning in.